Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Timothy Gager, and welcome to Virtual Friday's Dire Literary Series. Tonight, our feature is Jessica Cuello, and let's do a little bit of background for her. If I can share my screen. There we are. Oh, awesome. What did I do here? I don't even know what we're sharing. All right, here we go. Got it. So, believe me, I practiced this before just to do that. Jessica's new book, Liar, which came out in 2021, this October, was the winner of the 2020 Barrow Street Book Prize, selected by Dorianne Laux. Forthcoming. Well, it's already out, so you can definitely check it out. And Jessica is a very modest person because I could not find a third-person bio, but she's got some great credits and is one.
Oh, scroll down. Scroll down.
There we go. Oh,
maybe I should move that up, but yeah, there.
No, maybe I don't have mad skills tonight for sure. So anyway, Jessica Cuello's manuscript Liar has been selected as the 2020 Barrow Street Book Prize, and it's out in 2021. She's the author of Pricking from Tiger Bark Press. This is up. Everyone definitely read through it. And the wonderful thing about this is you can go to her website, which is jessicacuello.com, which is right up here. So there we go. So I'm very, very pleased to have you, and I'm dying to hear your work. So take it away.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It's a great crowd. I'm going to read only from Liar tonight. It still feels new to me. And I'm going to begin with an ode to loneliness. Feels appropriate. You're a room with no doors, the innermost white ash of the fire, a wool coat with X's sewn on the inside. You are a liar. We lie side by side. You shape the ceiling face, sing from the iron vent, whisper to the one-armed boy. When the child wakes in the empty house, you are waiting. They say you live in fields of snow, but you hate starkness. I breathe your cold skin. You are a gravestone face, a nursery rhyme in the body, the old man who played knick-knack on my thumb. When the nurse's tender fingers touch your neck, you cry. Your nerves are pale strikes of lightning across the silent lake. We touch with just eyes. You read to rid yourself of invisibility, and at night become a lone toll booth worker hunched with fluorescent desire. I think maybe because I'm getting over a sickness and the crowd seems small and cool, I might read some poems I don't normally read. There's a whole series in this book that are based on misspellings that I collected from my students. So it's one of the patterns in the book. They're spread throughout the book. I think I might read a couple of those. This one I have read before, Hunger, spelled Hungur. Hunger was secret, hump on the back, the something else. The body insisting that it was present. Heavy child head, teeth in rows, an assemblage of girl put together like a word. Shame was the time of day. The body spelled need with her ugly limbs, half bone, half skin, shame to eat, shame to pee, shame to enter in and exit out. Grown-ups made a body, made it like a weed and sent it to school. The bones grew, the skin stretched, the body sat in the square of desk. Hunger pulled, the alphabet lined the board. The words that, this, those were tacked to the wall. Strange suns the head grew toward. Here's another from the book that's very strange. It's actually one of my favorites though. Crucified is over nurse's desk, Crucified is spelled Crusifde. And if you're not familiar with the book, it's a book from a child's perspective, if you can't tell already. Who put holes in his hands? Who put holes in his fight feet? Teacher stood me in the nurse corridor. The Red Cross symbol was mounted above the door like a knight's war sign. When you are nearest me, my hair is teethed by your comb. I'm sent to wash with hush words. Nurse hands me a papered soap and towel. When you are nearest me, I breathe. Her desk has a paper crucified, a red heart with a sword split through it. How is the heart so split and red? How is the man awake to look? When you are nearest me, hands don't recoil. They stood me there to wash. They were afraid to say, when you are nearest me, sturdy, kind, like him they crucified. And then I think I'm going to just do two more. This one is titled, My Babysitter Karen B., who was sent to Willard Asylum. There are only 2 photos of me as a child. She took them. She had no child. She had cool cigarettes and a job at the drugstore. She gave me the Crayola box with the built-in sharpener. 400 suitcases were stored in the attic of Willard Asylum for the chronic insane. She joined her twin brother there. She wore her black hair down. A child could admire it. She bought me an Easter basket, a stuffed rabbit whose fur rubbed off. She walked everywhere. She painted circles of blush on her cheeks. Loony people said so. I mean grown-ups who saw signs, who passed her on our street before she started to call and say, remember. On the phone she said, remember. Remember the day we killed her brother, forgetting he'd been committed. I took her hand and tagged along like an animal. She was perfect to a child. In 1995, when the asylum closed, an artist took photos of the 400 suitcases. The photos were put online, the contents laid out respectfully. In the open suitcases, belts, pocket knives, Lone Ranger cards. Keys, ribbons, shoe polish, mirrors, pills, a fountain pen, bottle of glycerin, a zither, kit of needles, bread ration card, the Gospel of John, a letter. Each suitcase had a name: Lena C., Lillian L., Mary T., Gloria P., Cassie M., Francis T., Marion R., Catherine S., Dimitri Z., Ruby C., Anthony C., FJL, Viola G., Alice T., Carrie L., Karen B., remember. Last one. People seem to like this one a lot. Sorry. That shirt makes you a whore because it's black. I paid for the whore shirt with my own money, bought it at the mall. It was buttoned down and satin to the touch. Who was this whore that had never kissed anyone, not even her mother? Who would not menstruate until she was old enough to leave home, until she had tasted fat, the pleasure of its depth. Whoreness must have started at the sleepovers where we played hooker. We stripped for each other. No, whoreness started younger, at 3, at 2, at birth, in the womb, whoring with balled fists and floating in the whore sea. When the 11-year-olds played streetwalker, I was the best. What did the best mean? It meant no smile. It was shame in girl form, which was shame's first form. It meant relinquish the body. It meant do not eat in front of others. Do not pee in public, bathrooms, not even school. It was the body in plain sight, but hidden. The girl's small, cocked hip in the room of girls. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. What great work that was. And that's from the book Liar. Yeah, I always feel like I've done a disservice when I give a time limit for people to read because I always want to hear more. So Liar came out in October. So what was it like to have a book come out in 2021? And did you get a chance to promote it that much?
You know, I think it was easier for me to promote during COVID because I'm a public school teacher and I don't have a lot of money to travel. So I probably did more readings for this book than I've done for other books. So it's the advantage of Zoom being democratic and cheap, even though I prefer to be with people. I'd much rather be with people, but it's actually helped me get the book heard a little bit more.
Have you been doing a lot of Zoom as a public school teacher, or are you going live?
You know, we've been in person for almost 2 years. You know, we shut down in March 2020 when almost everyone did. But yeah, since last fall till now, I've been in person.
And one of the things you said about appearing tonight, you were excited to talk about Liar. So what strikes you, what's the most, for you, what is the part about Liar that really like says, well, this came out like really as well as I expect, like this came out great. Tell me a little bit about it.
I mean, you know, I hope we all love our own books. I do love this book, and I don't feel like I've read a lot of books like it. Because of not just the child perspective, but the language of it. And I think part of it is the way that I've sequenced the poems. And I think part of it is the spelling. The misspelling doesn't really affect the reading of the poems, but it kind of guided me to the voice of the poems as I was writing them and what I was tapping into, the voices that I was tapping into.
Now, in the book itself, do you note the misspellings, or you just let them basically just let them on the page?
I just let them be there.
Yeah,
I love them when I have teacher friends that would collect them for me because they gave me such delight. And I used to have them on the wall by my desk. And I think it's partly that, one, they just remind you of like the old English, which is also a delight. I think anytime you read a word phonetically, or when you see a child's writing, there's something kind of beautiful and surprising because there's an apprehension when you get it. What does this word mean? Because I would go through, people would bring me these words like, what do you think this is? And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure, you know. And then when you get it, you feel this beauty of apprehension, like, so yeah.
Now, that book won the Barrow Street Book Prize. Do you enter a lot of contests? Do you win a lot of prizes?
I mean, you know, the poetry world is mainly made up of prizes, which is a little bit unfortunate because I think it's expensive. And I think it can make people feel that their work isn't good or not worthy, but this prize, they told me, had 790 entries.
Wow.
So like, how do you get out of that? You know, I just got lucky that I got out of that crowd. But I had sent this to, I mean, it did get picked up pretty fast, and I'm pretty deliberate where I send. I don't send everywhere because I don't like to spend a lot of money on sending out, but I did send it, I think, 30 to 40 places. But I sort of felt like the book was finished and it was ready. And if it got rejected, I was like, well, then this book's not for you. It's going to find the place where it belongs.
Now, how did it feel when you got the announcement that it won the Barrow Street Prize?
It's a pretty good feeling. I was reading email in the living room, and I read it. It was an email, and I was like, oh, I think I'm reading this wrong. So I had to call my family in. I made my daughter, my 15-year-old, read it aloud. And then I'm like, are we reading this right? Is this true? Is this real? And my teenagers are like, it's real, Mom. They're very, so.
And the next question is from John, which is actually going to be crisscross with my question about advice about contests and how do you choose which contests to enter?
Well, I always enter any place that I've ever been a semifinalist or finalist, because if you get to that level of your book being even a semifinalist, it means, because it's so competitive, that means you have a publishable book that's very good. And at that point, it's just personal taste and all of those things that you can't control. I try to send to presses where I like their list, and I even do this when I send to journals. I'll take a poet I love and I look at their acknowledgements page, and then I'll send to those journals. I try to send to places where I like what they're putting out.
You just got an endorsement in the chat from Ron Slade. That's a pretty good endorsement.
Oh, Ron, I want to say hi. That's pretty amazing. He's pretty cool.
So this book you wrote from a child's point of view. Your next book coming out is Poems and the Letters from the point of view of Mary Shelley. Is it important to focus and to have a narrow subject within a book of poetry?
I don't think it's necessary. I think a book needs to be cohesive. It helps me. It's necessary for me because I write a lot and I have a lot of things at any one time that I'm doing. And I'm actually an extremely organized person who's very chaotic inside. And so it helps me to control my work. It's a way of controlling, but I also get obsessed. The Mary Shelley book, I was reading biographies at night because poetry and literature was getting me too stimulated. I couldn't sleep. So I would try to find something nonfiction that would kind of make me tired. And so I was just reading a Mary Shelley biography, and I got so interested in the details that I started writing these letters as her. And then I was just writing them by the side of my bed at night. And then I realized there were enough to make a book. And then I got really obsessed. So then I got all these books about her. And
it sounds like that process didn't help your insomnia one bit.
No, it totally didn't. Yeah.
Oh, so you said you write a lot. How many poems would you say you complete in a month or in a good month, and how much is basically your mean?
I mean, not a lot in a month, because when I write, I don't know if other people work this way, but I write a lot of poems that don't become poems. I may or I may write part of a poem and then another part of the poem. I'll do a lot of writing just to write. And then I reject a lot of it and I cull from it. But I do keep things going.
So the stuff that you don't use, do you save in a folder on your computer or in a notebook, or is it gone forever out into the ether?
I'm still old-fashioned. I mainly write by hand. And I actually do keep the notebooks. And I've debated getting rid of them because I think they're dead weight. I got rid of all my journals a few years ago, and I thought that was great. So it's on my list to dump them, but there's still that thought, what if there's something good in there? But I don't think it works that way. I think because a lot of the poems in Lyre are things that I tried to write in the past 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and I couldn't write well. And whatever I wrote through that is gone. The words are gone. I mean, the writing is up here and you're just practicing until you get it right, you know. I don't know. This is like a COVID rant. I don't know.
That's fine. After you answer any question, you can say that's a COVID answer and we'll get it.
Yes, it's a great excuse.
So I know a group of poets, they'll write and they'll present their poetry, and then they'll actually physically burn the paper that it's on. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that'd be too dangerous for me.
She burned down the house?
Yeah.
That's not part of the process, though.
Yeah,
well, I presented the poem, then burned down the house.
I mean, I don't have time for, rituals like that. It sounds cool, but I'm writing, I'm a full-time public school teacher and a mom. Like, I'm just writing wherever I can. I don't have any rituals or anything that makes it cool.
Is there if you don't have any rituals, is there a space, a mental space that you get in that ends up producing a poem or makes you sit down immediately and put it on paper?
I feel like that state is with us all the time, every person, if you're just paying attention. And I feel like the better I've gotten as a writer has maybe been the more that I have paid attention, because teaching has gotten easier for me and I'm better at it, but it's easier, and it's because I see my students more fully. And I feel like there's the language, there's the craft. But I think there's also, if you're just paying attention to things, I think you'll be a good writer. You've got to put in all your dues with the line and image and rhythm, and you have to read. But I think there's something else about paying attention.
Now, do you ever give your class like sudden desk work so you can finish a poem or jot something down in the middle of a classroom session?
Never. No. But I did have to have these study halls during COVID. During the height of COVID, they had this crazy schedule last year, and I'd have these study halls of like 70 kids, and I didn't let them breathe. I was so strict. They didn't want to wear their masks. And I used that time to just try my hand at translation a little bit. And I ended up translating a book just during my study halls, which was great because I resented that study hall so much because some of the kids in there were so rude. Anyway, that's a tangent, but.
Do you have kids that you present poetry to, or you have them write poetry, or is it just not that subset of students?
I think all kids can write poetry, but I don't teach English anymore. I now teach French. And okay, my French one this year, they're not going to write poetry. Like they haven't been in school seriously in 2 years. So I'm teaching them like how to write with a pencil in their hand and be a person. Like, they're sweet, but oh my Lord. But my French 5 students have already written some poems, and they're going to write some more poems next month. And I'm going to end the year. I've never tried this, but I'm going to try a little translation unit with them too for the first time. So I do poetry with French 5, French 4, and a little bit with French 3.
And who's your favorite French poet?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't really have one. Natasha's here. She won't like me saying that I like Rimbaud, but I do. I teach a lot of Prévert because he's really great for high school. Even though I teach French, most of my favorite poets are American and English. I shouldn't say that as a French teacher, but it's true.
There's a question back when you were talking about your process in writing poems. How can you tell when a poem is worth continuing?
That's a really good question. I don't think you always can tell. Sometimes you can tell right away, but I've spent a lot of time on poems that don't end up, they shouldn't be poems, and it's not wasted time. I think there was a poem I worked on this summer, and I put it into 30 different drafts and forms, and then I realized I just needed to put it away.
Now, with the internet and people posting on Facebook and Zoom and Instagram, has poetry changed?
Gosh, I feel like I'm not qualified to answer that. I don't know. I think obviously there's more access to more people. More people are reading it than ever, I think. I think the problem is that poetry requires a lot of patience and it's not a quick gratification kind of read. So
You can get a lot of likes and shares and all
you
kinds
can,
of fun stuff.
you
Now,
can.
have you ever put one of your finished, patiently crafted poems on a Facebook post?
No,
Why not?
I mean, I've put published stuff,
Yeah.
but I've never put like a draft because I want to publish it. So I don't want to use it that way. I mean, that's the true answer, you know.
You're also the poetry editor. Are you still the poetry editor for the Tahoma Literary Review? Or?
Yeah, I'm a co-editor with Mayor Heron Hake.
So what is your percentage rate for acceptance these days? Because I'm sure that during the pandemic, your submission rate must have gone up.
I think it remained pretty even, but I mean, I think our acceptance rate is like 3% or something. I mean, we had for our last issue, I think we had like 780 poems and we only take 10.
That's a lot.
So yeah, it's competitive. And I mean, all the poets on here know how competitive it is.
And when
we read every single one, we read everything that comes through and we don't solicit, it's all slush pile. But you know, you're sending out 690 rejections to good poets all the time.
So when you find a poem that's worthy of the 3%, does it tend to be the stuff that you appreciate in your own work, or do you look at it as a reader in a different dimension?
That's a good question. I think both. I mean, I've taken some poets where I see some similarities in content with my work. Our last issue, there was maybe some content, but the style was, you know, radically different. And then there are poets I've taken that are nothing like me in any way. And we have a really broad aesthetic. We take 10-page poems, we take formal verse, we take experimental verse. We will take anything that's good. So there's no limitations on style.
So with that, and the flip side, do you get influenced, and I don't mean this in a negative way or in a plagiaristic way at all, do you get influenced by being a reader at a literary review?
You mean influenced in my own work?
Yes, exactly.
I think the biggest influence doesn't influence my writing that much, but it definitely gives me more gentleness with the submission process, because you realize how hard it is and you realize how many good people are doing it. And it actually made it easier for me to send out and get rejected. Because and then when you get, you know, a nice note from an editor, you realize they really mean it, because it's so much work to add that little note to a rejection. I mean, it's so much labor. So.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for being here and answering all of our questions. Here's the book, folks, and it's people in the chat have endorsed this book greatly, and you've heard Jessica read from it tonight. And you know, there it is. I know that, you know, even though I'm sharing the screen, I know that everyone wants to be clicking on add to cart, but you can do that on your own. That's for sure. And I really, really appreciate you coming on, Jessica, when you've been under the weather and just doing such a fine job. That was wonderful.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here. It's the best thing all week. So thank you.
Thank you. And now for the folks that are watching the stream on Facebook Live, if you want to be involved in the open mic, you can still use the link and come aboard and do that. Otherwise, I will say good night to you and thanks for watching.